Yeah.
So good afternoon, Jordan.
How you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Just
Yeah.
hopeful to be able to share a bit of my story, my family story, and everything else.
Fantastic. Yeah. So I always thank people for agreeing to do this, because it's a great thing to do in my opinion, but people don't have to do it. So especially somebody young like yourself, and your story is just great. So let me thank you right at the beginning of it all. So thanks very much. We're going to go through a series of questions, which hopefully I'm sure you can answer quite easily. And we'll just take it from there. Probably last about an hour. So it goes. All right. So we're going to start off with where you're born, sir.
So I was born in Solihull, which is obviously just outside Birmingham, but I still, for myself, although it's considered just outside Birmingham to a lot of people, I consider myself sort of Birmingham through and through, having represented the city of basketball for so long and from such a young age, and everything, all my family around me, just sort of, it's Birmingham really.
So you're a proper Brummie.
Yeah, Birmingham City fan.
Birmingham City.
Yeah. So,
as a Villa fan, I go, ooh.
Yeah. Well, my nephews are Villa fans, and they make sure that they only come to my house in their Villa kits just to wind me up, and they're only so yeah, I know that feeling.
Thumbs up to the nephews. Yeah, talking about nephews, then have you got brothers and sisters?
Yes, there's 6 of us. So I got 2 brothers and 3 sisters.
Wow. Where do you fall then? Right in the middle or something, or what?
I'm 4th, so yeah, we've been fortunate that we're all like best friends. We're all really close, and it's not from the oldest to the youngest, and there's 15 years difference. Not unusual for them to hang together, which is, I know is not as common with the big age gap, but we're all really close and spend a lot of time together. So
that's fantastic. And are you all here in the Midlands, sort of thing?
For the most part, we've been around a little bit with careers. My younger sister, she's an actor, so she got drawn to the bright lights of London, of course, but she's back and forth all the time. But look, we've got family in London as well, so there's
brilliant.
cousins and aunties and whatnot. So
yeah.
Of us are in the Midlands.
Brilliant. So talking about families, then, your parents, were your parents from here, elsewhere, or what?
So my mum is she's from Solihull. So she grew up by the ice rink in Solihull, which I use that because everybody seems to know where that is.
Sorry, where's that?
It's by the ice rink in Solihull. So
I see. Okay.
But not far from Sheldon, I suppose. And then my dad, he was born in the UK to Jamaican parents, and his older brother was born in Jamaica, but he grew up in Bilston, Black Country.
Okay.
And moved over towards, Birmingham way.
All right. Yeah, good. Yeah. So what sort of life have you had around Birmingham? What was schooling like for you?
What was what? Sorry, school.
Yes.
So for me, it's so I've grown up in a predominantly white and wealthy area, albeit our upbringing probably wasn't the same to most in the area that we live in.
Right.
So a lot of times when we say that where we're from, people immediately think, them rich kids, them. But those
are they right, John? Are they right?
No, they're not. No, it's we had a modest upbringing.
Right.
There was like I say, there's six of us. Probably the older 3 have got a different mom to us. Younger 3, we're all still, that would never come into anything. We're all still so close, like the best of friends, and spent many nights in the same house, like 4 or 5 of us in the same bedroom.
Wow.
So, I went to school, a school called Arden School. It was a good school. And it was, for me, it's there's a transition. Obviously, me being of mixed heritage, you know, I grew up playing basketball in a predominantly ethnic area, Neutrals, and I
All
spent
right.
so much time at the basketball club, and a lot of my best friends and friends to this day came from that. And then obviously going to school in a predominantly white area, for me it was a case of sort of juggling who I was, trying to find out who I actually was. Obviously my family and my mom's side of the family sort of very British, and my dad's side of the family very sort of the Caribbean Jamaican influence very much runs through all of us and runs through our pride. So just trying to find sort of where I was at. I know a lot of mixed race people go through that transition of finding themselves. I was fortunate that I had basketball, but you know, at the time at school, I could be at times maybe considered the sort of the black kid, the hood black kid, and then at basketball, the posh white boy from Solihull. So it was trying to like juggle them together and then bringing it. But then when I got more confident at basketball, oh sorry, I don't know if that's have I gone?
No, you're good.
Sorry,
You're good.
sorry about that.
No problem.
So just trying to find the balance. When I got confident at basketball, it really gave me the keys to unlocking who I was. I felt, you know what, I am both. I am mixed, and this is who I am. And I felt like it gave me the power to be who I wanted to be and embrace both sides of my British and Caribbean culture and bring them together and get hopefully have the best of both and make the most of it.
Yeah. So talking about that, then, how do you categorize yourself? Do you see yourself as British, Caribbean, or Caribbean and British together, one or the other, or both together, or what? How do you see yourself?
So it's I think it's situation based, to be honest. So it's I am fully aware that I'm both at all times, and it's something that I am proud of. Obviously, being in the Royal Marines, you know, you carry that pride of the UK and whatnot. A different sort of element of pride of being from the UK, sort of to what is stereotypically thought of when people see St. George's flags and everything else. It's more, you know, for me within the military, knowing what people that came before me from a lot of different backgrounds that might have sort of fought under that flag came together and to push the country forward. I hold that pride, and then the pride of Jamaica, that's big, like for me.
Yeah.
Every time I see the you know, the colours, like your shirt, the flag in the background, is something that shines a bright light inside me and something that I'm proud of and always looking to find out more and educate more to those around me that might not be aware of it, because I think, you know, Jamaica and the Caribbean as a whole is a group of very proud people, and just being able to have some of that within me and instilled within me is something that I'll always be proud of. So
that's fantastic. That's fantastic. So, you know, it's great, really, because I mean, you know, you've been proud of both sides of your heritage. I think it's just fantastic. We all should be proud of that. And you know, going forward, you talk about career. Did you, and you mentioned about being in the military. So when did that come about? I mean, you were at school. Did you, you know, did you say, I'm good at maths, and I'm good at English, and I'm good at this, and good at that, therefore I want to do this? Or what happened, you know, when you left school or just before you left school?
So my parents were both police officers. And so they were both police officers, and I saw sort of the careers they had. My mum, you know, had a great career and spent a lot of time in sort of murder investigation. I think it's homicide team now. And my dad had a very, very like well documented police career as well, and finished up getting the Queen's Police Medal. Seeing sort of their service that they gave instilled something within me. But I think hearing the stories of old, like of old compared to modern day, was something that really appealed to me, and I didn't feel like, you know, you could still have those times within the police force. I think it can be a very hard job to do in this day and age, because there's so much out there that makes it difficult to do the job. And I felt like the Royal Marines might be a place where, you know, it still sort of has that element of camaraderie and element of work together, where almost a little bit old school in a way, but in a modern time. So that was something that definitely appealed to me. And then my older brother, he applied for the Royal Marines and didn't get in because of his asthma. But one second, sorry, that's my nephew's. So sorry about that.
No problem.
So it was something that appealed to me just because, and I always wanted to do it, but it was a case of I'm also someone that likes to challenge themselves. So going through school, like basketball was my first love. That was what I always played. I love sports, football, basketball, cricket. I love cricket. It's what we grew up with. Rugby as well. So basketball was what I thought that I would do for a very long time, and having, you know, left school and gone to the States to do my last year of high school, to playing basketball out there, and then coming back.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. So then coming back and I went to Loughborough and played basketball within the Leicester Riders basketball program, and then professionally at Worcester Wolves in the British Basketball League. So then at 23, it was, my basketball career hadn't taken the steps that I thought it was going to take, and I could have stayed within basketball, but for me, I thought it was the right time to step away. And I actually ended up joining the Marines, came back. My parents and everyone around me was like, because I had no idea.
Where did that come from?
Yeah.
So what you were saying there, Jordan, is from quite a young age, you wanted to be militarized, or you fancied that side of things anyway. Yeah,
it was something that I'd always said to myself, if basketball doesn't go the way I'd pictured it to,
okay,
something that you know, I was very keen to do, and it was always the Royal Marines.
So why the Royal Marines instead? You know, you have you got the Army and you've got the Air Force. You know, why the Royal Marines?
So I researched quite a bit about it. The subconscious inside you that sort of knowing my older brother had applied for them as well. I don't know why he had applied for them. I don't know his reasons behind that. And I think knowing that, obviously, like when you're younger, my older brother was like, you know, my best friend and my hero. There's 10 years between us, so it was like,
wow,
that probably played
yes,
some part in terms of subconsciously.
Yeah.
But then also after I started doing more and more research into it, just seeing the force in which it is, and the training that you go through, you know, straight away, the longest and hardest training that's put to you. And then you see in the adverts, 99.9% need not apply. Then it's all these sort of challenges, and thinking that I could do that. And then not only that, but also the history of the Corps. I think joining any armed forces, it can be a risk because of what you're asked to do, but it's perhaps the most well educated risk you could take, purely because you know that if you are going to be put into danger zones, that everybody around you has come through the same training that you have, and there's so much out there, so many. I watched everything, every documentary, all the books, read them all, and just it was all stuff that appealed to me, like the moral values and shared ideals that I had seemed to be sort of within this green beret.
Yes. And you signed on the dotted line. I mean, wow, that's you know, what age were you then when you?
23.
23.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, when you at 23, I guess you was probably older than some of the other guys, because a lot of them are quite much younger. So did that play a part at all? Because I mean, you've always been fit, haven't you? I mean, basketball.
Yeah. So fitness was something that, not only playing sort of sports to a professional level, but fitness was something that I'd always prided myself on. Like, I didn't want to just be there. I wanted to be the fittest there. I'm so super competitive and the worst loser. So I wanted to be the best at what I could be. And I think that probably plays into why the Royal Marines as well. I just wanted to be the best that you could be. But you know, being older, being 23, going into training. For me, I actually applied a couple of years before. So I left when I left Leicester and Loughborough. I applied as an officer, and then I passed everything to be an officer. But the way the Marines works, they only take 60 into a batch, which is the officer intake of that year. Is only one intake a year. I then got offered naval officer roles that year, and I was 21. But they didn't. I think my nephew's causing chaos out there. So it didn't materialize. I just was borderline making the batch. Then I got offered naval officer roles, which I wasn't really interested in. For me, it was about I wanted to be in the Royal Marines, so it was that was what it was about. So
wow.
Yeah.
And I mean, without sort of, how long have you done now?
7 years.
Yeah, and that's been what you thought it would be, better or?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes and no. Obviously, there's no operations right now, so I assume that that's what I would be getting put into.
Yes.
But equally, I'm not a war wisher. I'm as far from that as possible. I just wish that, you know, where we're able to make an impact for good. That's something that I long to be a part of, and that was something that I had the desire to do from a young age, like to give people the opportunities that they might not have been afforded to without us intervening. So, but apart from that, in terms of seeing the world, making friends, everything like that, yeah, it's been everything and more. I don't think it's hard to articulate to other people. You often get asked that question by people that might join or want to join the Corps. It's hard to put it into words because there's so many different places, there's so many different things that you've seen, there's so many different friends you've made, and everything from that standpoint. So it's been a great opportunity. But you know, like one story I use quite a lot is I never thought I'd be in a position where, you know, you're in the desert doing a night navigation exercise, and then I hear noise and I'm sure there's nobody around me, and I turn around, there's 4 or 5 camels walking around me, and that was kind of surreal. Or finding out, like I say, being from Birmingham and then finding out that you like surfing because you've done it on adventure training, that sort of thing. Like, there are opportunities. I think you get to see the world through eyes that not a lot of people get to see them through.
Fantastic. And I think you really summarize it very well there, because when you join, you've got this expectation of certain things, but it's much broader than that once you're in there, isn't it? Broader, wider, deeper, and you know.
Definitely. I was a little bit naive, so when I joined, I expected everybody to be the same sort of person, everybody. And then when I got in and I actually realized, you know what, there's a lot of different people here. You've got like rock climbers from South Devon, and then you've got, like, I don't know, a lad from inner city Glasgow that just loves going to the football, or like all coming together, and then them two might become very close friends, and it's like this would never happen anywhere else.
Absolutely. And is it mixed in terms of male and female?
There's currently no Royal Marines commandos that are female.
Right.
It's only so females can apply to, and obviously they've got into training, but we haven't unfortunately had any successful candidates get through the training pipeline.
Okay, so you know, you talk about the Caribbean and your heritage there. Have you had a chance to visit the Caribbean?
Unfortunately not, believe it or not. Yeah, that's something that does really pull me apart. I haven't had the opportunity to get there yet. And that's not an excuse. Like, I'm not a believer in excuses. It's just, for me, I think it's a case I want to go and I want to have the authentic experience and make sure that I'm out there seeing family and everything. I went to St. Lucia when I was 2 because my mum and dad got married there. But
okay.
But apart from that, a lot of my the reality and the vision that I have of it comes from, you know, like my family being there, and family stories, that sort of thing, and just being around the culture within the UK environment. So it's definitely something that I really do long to do. Like, I can't, again, it's something that's hard to articulate and it's hard to put into words, but
it's on your bucket list for sure.
100%.
It's way up there.
My bucket list, and then something, I want it to be somewhere where I can I'll go, and then I can go back again and have the finances in place to do that and to go back with purpose. So
what about your sibling? Any of your siblings managed to
yes. Like my older sister, she's been there. My older brother's going there this year.
Okay.
Yeah, it's something that really does like come into all of our minds all the time. But like I say, I want to make sure that we do it properly, as we call it.
Yeah. So, like, you've been around and you've done all these things, and you come back. Do you ever see any of your schoolmates or anything like that and say, like, what have you been up to then now, Jordan?
Yeah. So, to be honest, it slowed down a little bit for me now because I'm in a recruitment role. I can talk about that in a minute. But I see my school friends quite a lot. There was times when I was away a lot, and I didn't see them much. But it's the age old thing where it's always the same. And within my school friends, also the guys I used to play basketball with when we were like 14, seeing those guys. But I think for me, sort of having been around a little bit, and the experience that I'd had at 18, I was in America, so I was gone for the school year. Then I was back, and then coming, and I'd be playing basketball in different places, and then I'd come back. So it was always like I was almost like this enigma that just appeared every now and then.
Yeah.
But yeah, like telling them the stories, and obviously I've been fortunate enough to be in the feature in the Royal Marines advert that's just gone out, and everybody then sort of gets to see a side to the work that people don't get to usually see because there's no phones, or we're not recording what we do. It's like a taboo thing within the Corps. So having them see the advert and they're like, is that CGI, or did you actually jump out of a helicopter or rope climb out the sea? And I was like, no, that's like I actually did that. So it's always fun.
That must have been quite exciting, because I've seen that. That would be quite exciting to some different people, because they'll just see a different side to you and everything, don't they? Really?
Definitely, yeah. So, and also they see when we go away, they don't see the 6 weeks that you might have been living, like when you've been in the field or been in difficult situations. They don't see that, and not slept, and you've been freezing cold. They don't see that cold, wet, muddy self, and no one sees that. But then they see when you might get some time off and you're in San Diego and Vegas, and they're like, your life seems to be a jolly. And I was like, I wish you could have seen me 2 weeks ago. Yeah. So so we do have a lot about that.
That's amazing. When you talk about San Diego, then let's go back to the bit where you said you went to America at 18 with the basketball. Yeah. I mean, must have been quite an experience. What was that like?
Yeah, so I went to school in Richmond, Virginia.
So sorry, let me just ask you, was that like a scholarship or something, or
so I went out there to play basketball on a scholarship there to further my career, to a prep school. So it was a good opportunity, a great experience for a great opportunity for myself, furthered my game and everything else, and also in terms of life experience. Like for me, it only dawned on me when I got on the plane and I was like, okay, I'm going, and it's a different country. Yeah, it's a different country.
Yeah.
I was like, at that point I was like, I don't know anybody on this continent, and it's a completely different continent. So I'm like, I don't know anyone there. And then just going to the like my first day there, getting off and going to basketball practice, and it was like something from a film. And then for me, and then going to the shop on a night to get myself some I wanted to get a quilt for my bed, and it was more like blankets and whatnot out there, and I was like, couldn't comprehend. Or I wanted to get squash to put in my water. It wasn't that wasn't something that they had like readily available there.
It's just a different world, isn't it?
Different, yeah, a completely different world. So for me, it was dealing with that. But I was fortunate to be with a lot of guys from different places: Serbia, Montenegro, France, the States, obviously, different parts of America, and you see like the different cultures from where they live and whether they were more northern or southern or wherever they were, and learn.
So a lot of people actually come to this particular college for that sort of learning about basketball from around the world.
Yeah, so we had a very like multinational team.
I see, right, okay.
Which was very good. Obviously, in the main they were from the States, but it was really good to see. Like now, obviously, I played basketball after that, and there was a big American influence. But I feel like I can relate to people from different parts of the States, whether that's from like the DMV or the West Coast or whatever, just because things you picked up over time. So I think in terms of life experience and applying it to day-to-day living, it was a really great opportunity as well.
Fantastic. And that's the beauty about that, isn't it? That's a part of traveling. Now, when you talked about traveling in the Royal Marines, and it's the university of life, isn't it? Because you learn so much about people and different, ethnicity and different way of seeing things done the same way, all sorts of different things that you learn.
Right, that's it. And that's what's been such an incredible experience along the way of everything that I've done. And I know I've been fortunate. I'm 30 years old, and even at 23, before I got into the Marines, I felt like my life experience was quite up there, just because of the opportunities that had come to me through sport, really. But as an example, I had a teammate 10 years ago he was half English, half Greek, but he grew up and lived in Greece. So he lived in Rhodes, and that's where his family's from. Obviously, recently at this time, we've just seen all the fires and whatnot that have been happening in Rhodes.
Right.
My brother's actually been on holiday in Rhodes and got evacuated from the hotel with his family, his wife, and his 2 young kids. And I was lucky enough to have a contact there, where I called one of my teammates from 10 years ago and said, look, is there anything that you could do? And his mom actually was able to go and pick them up and bring them away from the school that they got evacuated to, and
really
take them out for food and everything. And that's what, again, like, that's why I always think it's important to take time out and spend time with people. And they didn't have to do that, but they, it was my niece's birthday the day after, and they got her a cake and everything, and had them in their home. And these were people that they'd never met before, and it was all just from a relationship that I had with a teammate 10 years prior to this. So it's like,
that's a fantastic story in itself, really, because there's so many other people who are caught in that situation. That's such a different experience to what you're talking about.
Exactly. So it was just the opportunity of just sort of taking in the surroundings. And I think whenever you go to new places or you meet new people, it's 5 minutes out of your day might not be much, but to someone else it can make their day. And I think that's something that if we all have that in mind, and also you never know what situations you might be in where you need to be called upon and you need to step up for someone, or equally the other way around, where you're in trouble and you might need some help. And we're fortunate it paid off for my older brother and his family. And
Brilliant. So talking about traveling, then, what's the best sort of country that you've been to, experience-wise, or place?
I love the States. I love California. I must say that I really.
Where were you in California? Was that everywhere, or?
So I love San Francisco. I think that's a really incredible place. It's I'd say it's different to a lot of the States. It's just the atmosphere, everything around it. Very liberal place. It's just a great place where I feel like people can just be who they want to be. San Diego is also a great place, like being on the beaches there and down the seafront. That again,
I have to say, if I was going to live in the States, it would be San Diego.
Yeah, well, as an Air Force man, yeah, I know you guys like it out there.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
San Diego is great. Also, I think the experience that I had in Albania was, and a lot of people when I say Albania, they don't know much about the country.
Okay.
But it was such a good experience for me. We did a really tough exercise out there, but within this exercise, we were dropped in the mountains and stuff, and had scenery that, you know, you'd never expect to see in Albania. If you Googled it, it was surreal. It was unbelievable. And then actually being like on the beaches and stuff there, it was a really great experience. And obviously for myself, I'd been on ship for a while, so I was sort of walking around when I first got there thinking I need to get a haircut. I don't know where I can go. I need to get a haircut, and then they take a chance on this Albanian barbers, and I was like, my hair might get butchered, but it was a great haircut, so that added to the experience. Obviously precious about the hair.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't really think about that sort of thing, don't they? For us with this kind of hair and things, and the people first time seeing you, what am I going to do with that sort of thing? Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
And we went in there, and I think I think the barber charged us. There was like 4 or 5 of us that went in there, and he charged us the equivalent to like £2 each. But we all just gave him a tenner each, like we would at home, just because. Like, and I was so shocked. I was there with my fade, checking it out. I'm happy with this. And it was quite ironic actually, because I always used to have my hair short, like a number 2 skin fade, and then I went on ship and I grew my hair longer because I was on ship, obviously. But it was actually then that I actually got the hairstyle with the curls on top. And it's funny because then when I came home, everyone was like, "You've done this back to front." I thought when you joined the military, you meant to cut the hair off.
Which is quite right in a sense, really, isn't it?
So
Talking about that then, to be honest, you know, I didn't even ask you about going on a ship. I mean, because that's a different experience again, isn't it? Because, you know, a lot of people, I mean, when you join the armed forces, you know, I suppose Air Force and Army are different, but in the Navy, the Royal Marines, that's a big part of your time, isn't it? Being on ship? Yeah,
so obviously the Navy more so. For us, when we're on ship, unless you're the ship's force protection, you're we're very fortunate that, you know, there's only so much that we can do on a ship. So, you know, we'll work on our individual skills and drills. We'll work on the things that we can work on within a ship environment. We end up doing what we call fizz exercise. Just for anyone watching that doesn't know what I mean. So we'd do fizz like 2-3 times a day, get up on the flight deck, because we
is
have
that physical exercise? Physical exercise.
So we would just do it. Just you probably go off on ship and come back in a better shape than you went on, because we don't have loads to do on ship, like I say, unless you're part of the protection on ship, or you're actually deployed like 14 Commando do. But for us, it's a case of just staying slick on your drills, on your weapon drills, on everything else.
But there's also learning to survive on a ship, isn't it? Because I mean, you know, if you live on the ground on a base, you learn about how to survive on the base and everything. But you go on board ship, there's certain things that you've got to carry out, don't you, to learn to survive on a ship?
That's it, right? So I'd say a big thing is, you know, you've probably never experienced being in a room with 24 guys, 24 of your troop in such close proximity to each other, with such minimal space to keep your stuff. So it now sort of pieces together the puzzle of training and trying to work out, why did they put me through this? And then it starts to come together now, because, you know, if you and it's also governed by each other. So, you know, we hold each other to strict standards, and that's something that I do like about the Royal Marines. Like, everybody is accountable and everybody makes everyone else accountable. So we hold each other to strict standards in order to live to the standards that we've been trained to, and that's just to make it best place for everyone. Because, like I say, 24 people in a very compact environment, unless you're on top of it, if anything, sort of illness spreads through there, it's not something you want to be a part of. But lads are so good at keeping on top of their stuff. They're washing, keeping their stuff away, keeping it nice and neat and tidy. Being in that environment, the food's always pretty good on a ship, and it's it is a great experience. I'm so happy that I've had the opportunity of spending time in there again, just to add to the life experience.
Yeah. It's fantastic, isn't it? Because I mean, what you're saying there, it's teamwork, isn't it? It's a massive, massive thing in, well, it is in all the military. But
Yeah,
when you're so tight a unit, teamwork is massive, isn't it?
definitely. I think that runs through it. Teamwork and communication, everything.
Yeah. They teach you
Uh,
that from day one, don't they? And you've
yeah,
got to carry that all through your career. And it's the same, I guess, in the old armed forces, but the tighter that you are, the more of a team that you become,
yeah,
working each other, looking for each other, and all
that's
that
it.
sort of thing.
That's
Wow.
it. So it's like I say, it puts you in that environment. And for me, when I went on ship, I was 2 weeks out of training, 2 or 3 weeks out of training, like straight on.
All
So
right.
for me, it was obviously the new lad in the troop. You'd be trying to earn your keep almost. Um, but it was a great opportunity to get to know everyone, because you're all there together. Your phones aren't working. You're just there. It's just you and those that you're working with. So
Did you
I,
take to the sea straight away, or was that something you got to get used to, or did it bother you at all?
I was fine on it. So I was
Right.
fine. Yeah, we went through a storm and it became very rocky, but I was completely fine. I think,
Mm.
yeah.
Because not everybody is actually comfortable with that sort of world.
No, it's funny. Like some people in the Navy, that might have a lot of sea days, spent a lot of time at sea, and they
Mm,
still struggle with seasickness. So
mm,
yeah, it was, and for me, like the opportunity to stop off in Albania, Oman, Qatar. These are places that I didn't expect to see, not the sort of usual holiday destinations anyway. So
yeah.
um, for me, it was just about the experience of seeing it, and
Yeah.
I did.
So from that's fantastic summary of your career so far. So how do you feel about being the face of the Royal Marines? As you seem to be.
So for me, in actual fact, there's a reason that I did it. I think that's the biggest thing, and the reason that that I did it and put myself in a position to do so was because I wanted to be someone that I wanted to put myself in a position that other people that look like me, that don't sort of see it as an opportunity for them, or it probably hasn't even come into a lot of people that look like me's mind, because there's not a great amount of publicized role models for them to aspire to be like.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I wanted to put myself out there and say, look, you can do this wherever you're from, whatever your background, your creed, your color, like we can do this.
Mm-hmm.
So that carries a sense of pride. I think some people sort of look at it like, it's kind of a taboo thing, put yourself in front of the camera in the Marines. But for me, when I tell people that answer, they're a little bit surprised and just wanting to have my own little reel that I can go and show people. And into sort of individually as well, of course, it was a great experience. Like as Marines, and as you all know yourself, like we like to put ourselves in what other people would be like, no, I don't fancy that, in those sort of positions. So having the opportunity to do the helicasting, jumping out of the helicopter into the sea, rope climbing out of the water, like continuously challenging yourself, getting winched up and then jumping out again. It was a brilliant experience for me individually, and having left the fighting company and gone into a recruitment role now, those experiences haven't come a lot of times for me, because it's not been my role right now. Not to say it won't be very soon, but just having that opportunity to get put in those sorts of environments, pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, and
Yeah, that's fantastic. So what about do you get a lot of inquiries from right across the ethnic divide trying to come to Royal Marines?
so right now, what I am in is called the Positive Action Team. So we were formerly the Women's and Ethnic Minority Support Team. So what we're there to do is provide support, and when I say support, we'll provide webinars, in-person events, and things like that, which we'll go and talk about the Royal Navy culture. So within that, we're not talking about just culture as a whole. We might talk about food, not just religious and cultural considerations, but also dietary. We'll talk about uniform considerations made. So if you're Sikh, yes, you can wear the 5Ks. Going back to food, about all the what meat's halal, what's not, what the networks are there to do. So obviously, so the Commonwealth Network or the Race Diversity Network, which is essentially a group of people that are there to support its members. And a lot of times it's people that have been through what you've been through, and that's not always bad. Sometimes that can be good, and it's just like a network of people that come together because you relate to each other. Just to know that, you know, we are underrepresented and we are a minority, but for those that there are people also that are like you. So just highlighting the things that aren't necessarily widely publicized and showing to other people, like I said, that you can do this and there are people like you. One of my examples is one of my best friends in the room, my best mate in the Corps. I met him in Bravo Company. We were from not far from each other at home as well. Funnily enough, we knew some of the same people. We couldn't believe that we'd never crossed each other's paths. Right. And he joined at 18, I at 23. Now, if you remember at the start of this, I was talking about finding yourself. So yes. He's mixed race as well. Yeah. And I'm sure he won't mind me talking about this. So when I first got to my unit, he sort of had the thought that he was still, because he'd been in since he was 18, so from a young lad, and he'd been at this point, it was like 5-6 years that he'd been in. And he was saying, oh, you know, I was listening to certain music, dressing a certain way, and he'd say, oh, don't know how the lads are going to be if you do this, do that. Now, the truth is, I listened to this music and I dressed this way, and nobody said anything to me, but I was comfortable doing that and I was confident doing that. Right. And I was comfortable and confident doing that. He then became comfortable and confident doing that. Great. Fact, you know, my friends are my friends because they're my friends and they're accepting of me because of this. Because the one thing I'd say about the Royal Marines, if you're good at your job, get good at your job, and if you're funny as well, then you what I call a Royal Marines triple threat. But if you can hold those together, then that's what people are bothered about. And then if you're a great person on top of that, it added to the factor. So having him tell me that, he told me that like a few years after, like that was where he felt comfortable. That meant a lot to me. And then it really had me start to ask questions about, like, is this how people are feeling? Is this why people won't join? Is this why we've got such a small percentage of ethnic minorities within the Royal Marines? Is it because of it? And if that's the case, then I'm prepared to sort of help take this on and improve representation. So fantastic, yeah. In the modern world. So that's sort of my motivation for wanting to improve it. And I'm completely honest, like, we're not there yet as a Navy or as a military as a whole in terms of the representation side and everything in place. And it is always a process, as it is for 100% of the organizations in the world right now. So it's, you know, stepping stones to get in there and keep climbing that ladder until we make it as inclusive as possible for
So what sort of message would you like to pass on to, you know, young children then with similar background and circumstances like yourself in terms of career? I mean, be it other than the military, but, you know, for the military, you know, what?
So for me, the way I liken it to is, you know, I have so many white friends from that are from underprivileged backgrounds that have changed their lives through joining the Royal Marines, that now have families of their own and they're able to take their kids to the beach at the weekend because of where they live, but they've come from underprivileged backgrounds, like I said, or they are able to do things, they're able to go and see the world. And like I said, I asked some questions and I asked why, you know, my friends back home, heavily ethnic minorities, there's not any of those guys that I grew up with that have joined the military. So I was kind of like, why? When I knew, and then just the opportunities that it can afford you to do, it might not be something that's open to you previously, but within this job, it can be, and you can chase whatever you want to achieve and battle to get there. Because
I think one of the things that I suspect might be a problem, not a problem, but how much do your peers, for instance, that you grew up with, how much do they know about the military, the role in the Marines? Is that something on their on the horizon on a regular basis, or have they just not heard of it?
Exactly. So a lot of people haven't heard of it, and it's not been an option to them. So if we can create this as an option that comes into people's mind, because I really believe that you could go into certain schools, say within Birmingham, ask the kids 100 things that they want to do, and I don't know if the army might come up because that's what they know, but the Navy, the Royal Marines, I don't know how many, and even the Air Force, I don't know how many would come up with this off their own back inside that 100. So just sort of creating not just the appeal, but also the attention and drawing attention to it. If we can do that, it opens up a world of opportunity to so many people.
Yeah, and I think that needs to be done more and more, because we do have a nation to defend, and it's the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines that's defending, and the people who are going to be populating those armed forces are the children from the school. So you really should make sure that that's given to them as an option as much as possible we can.
That's it. And going back to the advert, the reason that I put myself out there was because I remember playing World Cup '98. I was 5 years old on a Nintendo 64, and I put David James in goal for England. The reason I put him in goal was because he looked like me. Now, anyone that knows anything about games consoles, then it was impossible to look like someone because it was just like a blockhead, and it was just the colour of someone's skin. But that's how I felt at 5 years old, and that was something that I aspired to be like, and that's why I put him in goal. So hopefully, being seen, being out there. Obviously did another piece on Windrush and my family coming over from Jamaica and whatnot, and just being out there and showing that we're real people doing real jobs. Because as well as you spoke about nation to defend, but there's also humanitarian aid things and whatnot that goes out regularly, and it's something that you can be proud of forever.
That's fantastic, really. So I think you're doing a great job, and I think you volunteering for that role will make a great deal of difference to anyone who may even want to do this and don't even know about it. But then to see you that look like them, you're a role model, and they will definitely think about it, at least, and saying, Jordan's done this, I can do this.
That's what's been fortunate. Obviously, I play basketball, being in this role, and with a understanding from my hierarchy, I play basketball in the National League still, and the basketball club I play for I've gone back to the one that I grew up playing for in Neutral, City of Birmingham Rockets, and the club reaches 1,500 kids from 46 different language-speaking backgrounds every single week within the city. So I regularly have messages since the advert and whatnot have gone out from kids that are getting to that sort of age to think about their careers and what they want to do with their lives, and they're seeing it and asking me questions and asking to have conversations with me, and just that as an impact in itself, because they would have only known me as a basketball player and not seeing my career with it. And at the minute, unfortunately, I had the opportunity to do both and have that platform to be able to do so. So just trying to use what I can and what I have around me.
Absolutely fantastic. I think that's so good. I think that's very, very good. And I think you'll be even a more rounded person once you've done that Caribbean trip.
That's what I need to do. I need some recommendations. So it's something that's on my mind. My cousin goes every year, Richie, so I've spoken to him multiple times about going. My dad and my brother are going this year, but it's the middle of the basketball season, so I can't go because it's
circumstances. So you'll get there because you want to go. You go there. It's on your bucket list. That's fantastic. I got to thank you for taking us on that journey that you've been on, you know, because it's so important to actually be able to record things like this and be able to put it out there. Because I think somebody will sit and watch this and think, wow, you know, what a journey Jordan has been on. And you're still young, you're still on that journey. There's a lot more to go. Yeah.
I hope so, yeah. So
Yeah, great. Have you got any questions at all for the Forgotten Generations?
Just really what sort of inspired you to want to tell everybody's story and where you see it going and whatnot.
Okay, so I wrote a book about my life story, which is called My Path of Life, which saw me being left back in the Caribbean as a young lad. You know, my daddy left me when I was 4, my mother left me when I was 7, and I didn't see them again until I arrived in this country, age 13. So, you know, I looked at that and I thought, you know what, that's happened to a lot of people, you know, because you just know that. And I just put a big question mark in between the youngsters that were left back in the Caribbean and the youngsters that came here. Yeah, and I put that question mark and said, well, what happened next? You know, so I then started to look at what happened next with individuals, because it's a similar story, but very different.
Yeah.
And one of the things about that is looking at the trauma that it's caused and how much that's passed down in generations. You know, you leave your family left behind, some have had good times, some not so good, some bad. That's life, right? And then you come here and join maybe other kids that are born here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And sometimes it doesn't work, and sometimes it does work. But also, how has the parents managed to deal with that? You know, who left the Caribbean, come here to look for a life for themselves, you know, leaving their kids behind. It's trauma for them as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So on top of that, the life of, you know, African and Caribbean people, I'm looking at it and saying, how, you know, has that been promoted to the level where it should be? And the question is no. And the answer rather is no. So I then turn it into the Forgotten Generations, put all those things together and say, we need to promote this to a national curriculum in the school. So the history of our people is actually out there amongst everybody else. So when you're in school, you get a more informed choice because you know about your history, you know about your people, you learn more. So that's basically how I came up with the Forgotten Generations, really. But one of the unique selling points is doing what I do now, is to record people's own story visually.
Yeah.
You know, so that it's your story, you telling it, not even written down, but you from your own sort of features sitting there talking about it. And that's been quite a successful, especially when we look at the World War II veterans who are very much in their later of the years now. Recording their stories from way back then has been quite a tremendous thing. But even more so now, looking at them handing the baton over to us as the younger generations, myself and then to you, we need to do that, right? And this is one of the, I think is one of the really good ways of doing that.
That's it. I completely agree. And one thing that I really believe is we have a responsibility, and the responsibility doesn't fall on everyone, and neither should it, because you know, some people don't want to keep pushing forward, and it's your own life to live. But for those that have the ability to deal with any burden or any fallout, we have a responsibility to put ourselves out there and allow others to unlock their own achievements from seeing what you've been through and what you've been able to unlock, achieve, or fail at. And that's a responsibility that I think that we have as a Black person, you have within you. And like I said, it shouldn't fall on everyone, because for some people it's not a burden that they wish to carry, and that's for their own reasons, and that's completely fine as well. But for those that are capable of doing so, it's important to do it.
Fantastic. And that's why I appreciate it so much that you agreed to talk. And obviously a person your particular environment and career and everything, you don't mind doing that. But there are a lot of people who don't want to talk. You know, you're talking about having the burden, not the burden, but whatever it is in life that we've got to portray. Not everybody is capable of doing certain things, right? So you've taken that up, and I think they're just fantastic mantle to take on and bear. It's not always easy, but you like doing that. Some other people won't want to do that. So that's why congratulating you on doing all of that, really. I think it's really, really great. And I hope you really succeed. And I believe you will succeed at that because you're good at it.
Yeah.
All right. So again, thank you very much. Anything else for me?
Well, that's it. Thanks for having me on and allowing me to share my story. And
yeah. Anytime. I hope that a few years down the road we'll be able to even champion even more going forward.
Yeah,
that's the success. All right.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. Thanks very much, Jordan. Take care.